All right. Good morning to everyone. This is Erace, Saturday, November 12th, 2022. Glad to see everybody this morning. Let's see. I'm Nancy Moore. I have been coming to Erace since June of 2007. So that's going on 15 years. So I must enjoy it, huh? Eracism is the slogan of the group Erace, which was formed in New Orleans in the summer of 1993. We seek ways through person-to-person communication to show we are committed to treating fellow human beings of all colors with love and respect. Join us. Okay, and next I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. I have it here. We acknowledge that what we know as the United States is the traditional territory of indigenous peoples, and that there are many more nations and tribes that could be named. Members of our group today are on the lands of the Takawan, Lipan, Apache, and Comanche in Austin, the Chitimacha and the Choctaw in New Orleans, the Creeks and Cherokees in Atlanta, the Lenape and Piscataway in Maryland, the Wampanoag and Nipmuc people in Boston, and the Kahlua and Mojave in Riverside County, California. We thank their ancestors for being stewards of these lands through the generations. And it cut off, so I'm missing a sentence. But anyway, we thank the Native people who were here before us. And we acknowledge their presence. Okay, so we're going to go around and have everyone introduce themselves. And then I will talk about why I brought the meeting, why I brought the topic and the guidelines of the meeting. So I'll start with people as I see them on my screen. Marva.
Good morning. My name is Marva. I've been coming to Erace post Katrina, and I look forward to these lively discussion every Saturday.
Thank you. Phyllis?
It's on its way, Bill.
Phyllis?
Good morning. I'm Phyllis. I've been coming to Erace since 2008, and I'm in New Orleans today, and usually. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Good morning, I'm Michelle, and I hope you can hear me. And I'm in Austin. I've been coming to Erace since the summer of 2000, and just want to say good morning to everybody.
Thank you, Michelle. Cindy? You're muted. You're still muted. You can't get yourself unmuted. We'll come back to you. Marla?
Hey, good morning. My name is Marla. I've been coming to Erace since roughly 2020-ish or so, and looking forward to the discussion as always.
Thank you. Louise?
I'm Louise. I've been coming to Erace for over 2 decades, firstly in New Orleans and now in Austin.
Okay, thank you. Lynn?
Morning, I'm Lynn Frank in New Orleans. I'm still sick, as you can see here. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're feeling well. Where's your background from? What is your background of?
It's a library in Paris, and it has a museum there where you can see the room that where the Louisiana Purchase was signed.
Oh, okay.
It's
very
right
good.
by the Palais Royal. It's a beautiful library and reading room.
It looks that way. Thank you. Nora.
Good morning, everybody. I'm in Austin, and as I said in the chat, I'll probably be leaving shortly. I'm gonna head on down to Houston today, but glad to see everybody. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right. Did Louise. Bill?
Bill Ives, I'm in New Orleans. I grew up here and then lived most of my life in New England. And when I retired, I came home. I'm happy to be home.
Good. Okay. Cindy, if you're able to get yourself unmuted.
Yes,
There we go. There you
I
go.
couldn't even get the site, but I figured it out. I seem to be backsliding in terms of technical skills, but whatever. I'm Cindy Morris, glad to see all of you every Saturday. It's valuable to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
My name is Glenn Abdullah from New Orleans. I've been coming to Erace since 1994. And I'm looking forward to this morning's meeting.
Thank you. And Teresa?
Hello, I'm Teresa Roberson. I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was a little late because I'm making a homemade old-fashioned red velvet cake with beets, not red dye. So it's been a fun historical experiment, which I'm still in the process of doing, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, glad to have you. Okay, I think that's everybody. I didn't leave anyone out, right? So, okay, everybody introduce themselves. Okay, explain the format of the meeting. Okay. We ask that everyone put yourself on mute. You raise one finger to get on the list and kind of wave it around to get my attention. Or you can raise the little hand. There's a little hand thing at the bottom. And not sure where it is. Is it under participants or is it under chat? But there's a little
I have
hand
it on
feature.
reactions.
It's under
Yeah, it's under
reactions.
reactions, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, and you can raise your hand and I can see that if you notice that I'm not seeing your finger. Okay, then also, we speak in turn of the list. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes. I will be keeping time. Okay. If you respect the speaker, all right. No side comments, no personal attacks, and no name calling. The point of the discussion is to listen and learn and not argue. And also, I would like to add that this is an organization of acceptance, okay? That everyone, you know, when you speak, your beliefs or your position, your personal position, or however you feel about the topic, all right, is personal to you, all right? And you can speak how you feel, but it does not mean that you have the right to impose your beliefs on other people. There's also, within personal attacks, there is no belittling of anyone else's personal beliefs or personal lifestyle or their position or anything else about them as a person, okay? This is an apolitical and non-religious organization, okay? That means we were not founded with any ties to any religious, any political organization or political party, or with any church, or with any religious organization or religious sect, okay? Clarifying questions. All right, if the speaker has made a statement that you are not clear about what they are saying, raise 2 fingers. Wave it around so I can see it. And you can ask the speaker to clarify what they say, which means, I don't understand what you meant. Could you please explain further what you meant by? It is not to make a rebuttal to the speaker or ask them a different question. If you want to speak or challenge anything that the speaker has said, get on the list. Okay? All right. So then we'll move on to the reason that I brought the topic. I brought the topic, I was listening to something, probably WWL. One day I listened to WWL pretty much every day. And because we have such a wide range of people coming in and out of my office, it's kind of pretty neutral as far as what we could listen to. So we listened to that. But anyway, depending on whoever the radio personality is at the time, it's fairly conservative. All right. Sometimes some particular personalities are ultra conservative and are mega supporters. And anyway, it just got me to thinking about how could they, in my opinion, how can they not see that their party affiliation is not leaning, is so far right leaning that it leads to, has racist leanings, put it like that. And they don't see that. It just kind of completely goes over their head that these, what they espouse and what they believe in and what their tenets of their party is not racist. So they were talking about tribalism that particular day. And it just got me to thinking how they do believe in this particular day, they believed in tribalism, but not necessarily that the tribalism was a forerunner to racism. So I looked up articles about tribalism and racism and the differences between tribalism and racism. And the reason that I brought two articles is because one specifically does say about how tribalism can lead to racism. And the other article is more so about how we're never going to really get away from, as much as we try to get away
Turn your volume
from,
up.
to try to get away from, we try to blend all of our differences. There is still something very inherent in us that tends to lead us to want to be with people who are just like us. There is security and safety in being with people who are just like us. And that's what the second article was about. So anyway, that's why I bought it. I hope I didn't leave anything out. Oh, one last thing on here. We can open the floor to discussion. However, if any of the above guidelines are violated, and if there's any back and forth or anything like that, the facilitator can always say point of order, which means all talking ceases at that point. Okay. And then we get back on track. Okay. So who would like to, Nora, are you still here? Since you have to leave, if you would like to be first on the list, that is, it's open. And Phyllis? No? Okay, well then Phyllis, you're the first on the list.
So I just want to say, Nancy, I didn't tell you this, but when I went to post this on Facebook, I put the Sefton Focus one, the tribalism leads to racism, as the main article. And then I went to the comments to put the second article. And Facebook would not let me post the second article because it said it violated community standards.
Really?
So I went to that American Renaissance website and looked at their About Us page, and about the third paragraph down, it's very clear that they say white advocacy, but they are white supremacists.
Wow. I didn't dig that far. I just looked at how it would never, they said people will always want to be with people, similar to themselves.
That's
So
because that's what they are promoting. They are promoting
what they're-
tribalism. They think it's justified. So
well, I'm not supposed to talk back and forth, but yes, that
point
would
of
fit.
order.
That would fit very much into what the conversation was that day that led me to get that, is that they definitely espouse tribalism and could not see how it would.
Yep.
Very good, very good.
So I'll have
Okay,
more to
thank
say
you.
later after more people talk. Michelle has a
Okay.
hand up. Michelle's hand is up.
Okay,
You can
Michelle.
you can put me on there too.
Okay, thank you. So we have Michelle and then we have Glenn. Okay.
Yeah, I just, now that Phyllis said that, funny enough, I kind of missed the first article. I only read the second article. And so when I did, I was like, well, this is really interesting that Nancy posted this. I'm wondering if she's coming from it. Like, we need to read the other side's viewpoint because we're not going to understand it unless we do. And so I kind of took it for that. And so, yeah, I clearly, when I was reading that article, I was like, this sounds very like white supremacist in nature to me. And I did kind of go and look and see, like, who is this group of people? And yeah, I don't think I dug quite as deep as Phyllis, but I did get to the point where I'm like, I didn't even need to read further. I was like, yeah, this is definitely. So I'm going to be really interested to hear what Nancy has to say about why she brought this article. So I'm just glad that was clarified. I just wanted to point that out. So that's really all I wanted to say, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Glenn.
Well, I wish African Americans practiced tribalism. We would be better off if we practiced tribalism. When people, when different ethnic groups first come to America, they have to work together, make sure that that their money goes towards inside that tribe, make sure they build up build up wealth within that tribe to compete with the others. African Americans don't practice tribalism. They don't practice helping each other. They don't practice looking for somebody among their own race first to use as a lawyer, to use as a doctor. Like the Jews, before they spend money with anybody, they're going to look for somebody within their own race. That's how come this guy ripped them off. This financial guy, I can't think of his name right now, but he got everybody. He got Madoff, yeah, because they trusted him. So tribalism is not bad, especially when you're dealing in a multicultural country like America, which, if somebody gets to a certain pinnacle of power, they can keep you, they can keep you out, or they can hurt your race. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Glenn. Next we have Phyllis. List is open. Come on. Let's.
Sorry.
Thank you, Marla. Okay, anybody have a rebuttal to Glenn?
Well, I'm next.
Okay.
I'm not really going to rebut Glenn because it's pointless, but
Bill?
I want to say the second paragraph of the Sefton Focus article, which I guess this is a guy who's a politician in a region of the UK. This is kind of very UK centered.
Gigi.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. So when he talks about tribalism in Britain is about a community, a football team, a religion, a political party. And I was just thinking, sports is almost our indoctrination into tribalism in this country, at least. I can't speak to the UK, although they go a little crazy at their football games. I was actually like thinking how on last Monday, I accidentally wore black and purple to work when the Saints were playing the Ravens. And I didn't realize it until mid-morning, and I was like, oh my God. And I felt like I had to start like saying, I'm sorry, I didn't wear these colors on purpose. I remembered yesterday to wear my Jenkins t-shirt to work. So I think that, you know, well, I won't say I think. I follow this woman on TikTok. It's a Black woman. Her handle is Goddess Mia, and she specifically aims her videos, her TikToks at white women. And so she'll either say her own opinion or she'll share something, a video that somebody else put, or and I learn a lot from her page and her videos. And one of the things that she always says is that diversity is power. And I 100% agree with that, that if we don't, like, if you want to be tribal, get a tribe that's diversified. That's my opinion. And also, I'm a little bit like, I don't like to use tribalism just because it seems like it's like saying you have a spirit animal. If that's not part of your culture to have spirit animals, you shouldn't say that. You should say something else. So,
Okay. You want to get back on us?
I'll wait a minute and see.
Okay.
Sorry, I did hear the bell. I just kept rambling.
It's okay. Next we have Marla, then Bill, and then Greer.
Yeah, this kind of
I
flows
had
from
my
what
hand up.
Glenn
Oh.
has his
I
hand
had
up.
my hand up.
Okay, well then we have Marla, Bill, Greer, and then Glenn. I'm sorry, I think I got my G's mixed up. All right, sorry about that. Okay, go
I got
ahead,
my
Marla.
headset falling off. No, it kind of flows from what Phyllis was saying. I just, one of the sentences from the second article, and also I should add, I too did not realize there were two articles until it was pointed out this morning, so I need to pay closer attention. But the second one, I believe it was from the American, or however you say that, when he says, it is easier for a homogeneous group to find optimal solutions if it does not attend to the claims of diverse groups. And it just, yuck to me. Again, my opinion, but I don't understand how you can make a case for this being just the way humans act with each other naturally, when there are so many reasons why we should aim for diversity. And it's also made me think of the whole, how affirmative action is in crisis here in our country, that folks don't really understand what affirmative action really is, right? It's to bring different ideas and thoughts and appearances, you know, diversity. How could diversity not be a beautiful thing? I don't get any of that second article at all. That's all.
All right, thank you. Next we have Bill.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my computer ran out of power and missed Nancy's rationale for the article. I really wanted to hear it because this is an article where I disagree with every sentence. And so I was curious to see why Nancy proposed it.
The first one or the second one?
The second one, like many people, I missed the first one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I just read the second one, the American one. So one of the things I disagree with, and love of one's own race is a healthy adaptation. Really? I can't escape being a white person. I can't put on a different skin, but I have no love for what the white race has done. And I don't identify with the tribalism of the white race at all. Another thing was said, in my case, it would be unhealthy. It would leave, going against it can cause mental illness. If I identified with the right white tribe, I would cause me mental illness because it would be going against everything I believe to identify with that. The other thing it said, it talked about how we're destined at birth to have these feelings. And as a psychologist who specialize in children's learning, there's a big component of learning. We are not necessarily programmed at birth, I don't feel, and that's my opinion. We can learn.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Phyllis, would you, I don't know. I brought the article, the second article, because it kind of, well, now I'm kind of confused because Phyllis said the article was sponsored, it comes from a white supremacist
Do you want me to repeat what I said?
Yes, I do.
So when I went
Teresa.
to post on Facebook, Bill, and anybody who didn't hear this, I was going to put that second article from the American Renaissance, which already red flags with that term, into the comments, and Facebook wouldn't let me post it. It said it violated community standards. So this never happened when I've been posting for Erace. So I went to that website and I looked at the About Us, and about third paragraph down, it talks about being about white advocacy. And I think I read it before I went and looked. It was like after I read both of them, I was like, oh, this second one is odd. And I was like not agreeing with anything it said. It actually gave me the heebie-jeebies. So yeah, the second one is written by people trying to advocate for white supremacy and white tribalism, which is gross. So.
And the reason that I brought the article was because I was saying I was listening to WWL one day, and one particular media, one of the hosts that comes on between 10 and 1, anybody knows who that is. It's Newell Norman. But anyway, he really talks, he has people who are ultra MAGA conservative types, and he must have had somebody on there that was talking about tribalism, and that's what gave me the idea to look at tribalism that leads to racism. All right, and so the reason that I picked that particular, the first one, you didn't read the first one. The first one talks about tribalism leads to racism, but the second article I picked because of what it specifically, because of what it said, that how people believe in, that they want to be with people who are like them, okay, which is kind of what the person that was on the radio was kind of talking about. So that's why I picked both of them, if that makes sense.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, the first one kind of more aligned with what the person the second one more aligned with what the person who was on the radio that day was saying. And then the first one, and I was thinking, well, I don't see how he can't see that what he's saying is racist, So
Hey,
that's why I picked the first one, but also picked the second one to kind of explain that.
Lynn had her hand up, by the way.
I have Lynn.
You have Lynn?
I do. I have Greer, I have Glenn, I have Lynn, and I have Teresa. Anyone, and Phyllis. Okay, so Greer.
I have to say this, I 100% agree with Glenn Abdullah, my uncle, that we as African Americans need to have tribalism. We need it for economic empowerment. We need it for political empowerment. We need it for social empowerment. Since we were taken, and those who were already here and reclassified and put into service as chattel, as people to work for this country, there's always has been an agenda against us on some level. We have to come together as a people first before we can reach out to anybody else. We have to become reliant on us. The reason why we don't have our full rights and get access to everything that we should have as citizens of this country is because we don't have the financial backing to do it. We don't have the political backing to do it. And tribalism for African Americans wouldn't be based on racism. It would be based on empowerment of our people and creating a community where we're relying on ourselves. Others use their tribalism to oppress us, but we need to do things for ourselves. We need to use every avenue that's available to us to do it. You had Mounds, you had Tulsa, you had Rosewood. Those never sustained because those who were tribal and white didn't want us to have it. We have to come together. Until we are a fist, not fingers, a fist, we don't have fight. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Glenn, Lynn, Teresa, Phyllis, and Bill. Anyone else? Marla. Okay, Glenn.
Yeah, to show you how tribalism worked, immediately I saw something that bring out the tribalism in me. Looking at that sweatshirt that Marla is wearing, got Arkansas on it. I want to see us destroy Arkansas today, LSU. Yeah, so that bring out the tribalism in me. Now on diversity, you can have tribalism and have good diversity. They had so when America was fighting against England, what we had here so much diversity. We had those mountain people that had the long rifle. These rifles could shoot. They made a rifle that could shoot a long range and accuracy. They help us with that fight. We had Indians. We had the Dutch. We had all the knowledge that came from tribalism. We learned from one another that each one brought something to the table. But all those tribes come together. If somebody would attack America today, all those tribes would come together. But we have to learn how to bring those tribes together that we, in this crucial point that we in, where we got climate change, we got the climate change happening, we got our infrastructure, all these types of things that all of us have to come together and cooperate with each other and not be our tribalism become destructive. That's it.
You timed that perfectly, Glenn. I'm so proud of you. Next we have Lynn.
When I read this article, I was reminded of our discussion last week, a topic initiated by Reverend Larry, talking about how the country was attacking Black men who had made statements that were considered to be anti-Semitic. And I thought, my God, we have an example of tribalism here, Jews versus Blacks. And then I asked myself, why in the world are all of these Black men suddenly making anti-Jewish remarks? And then I saw an article in the paper that said, it was from a guy out of Russia who said, we are actively interfering in the 2022 election just as we actively interfered in the 2020 and the 2016, and we will always actively interfere. And I wonder if some trolls in Russia are not sending out messages, making people feel hatred towards Jews, because some Jews are wealthy. And I honestly believe that. And then people react. And I have wanted to apologize to Reverend Larry for saying I was offended by his remarks. My truest feeling is I am saddened by his remarks. There is not enough knowledge across this divide to realize that the statements about the Jews in the Zions of the Elders of Protocol were lies. They called them blood libel, telling them that Jews drink children's blood and all that crap from the early 20th century.
Right.
So I believe that our tribes are being reinforced by Russian agitators, and we are too quick to grab onto this agitation. We should stop and analyze. And instead of punishing that basketball player, maybe we should have found a way to educate him and have him say, well, I didn't understand that and I'm really sorry. But the instant punishment, I think, reinforces tribalism.
It does. Thank you, Lynn. This is who we have next. We have Teresa, Phyllis, Bill, Marla, Greer, and then Glenn. Does anyone else wish to be on the list? Okay, next we have Teresa.
Okay, I would just like to say, even though I'm not part of Twitter, I'm glad the Twitter tribe is going after Elon Musk. I know we had some, when he originally took over Twitter, you know, the proliferation of the N-word appeared, just kind of flourished and whatever. But also, I was halfway, well, not even halfway. I've read maybe a couple of paragraphs of the second article. I only sped read the first article while on this call because I didn't know that there were two. But I just thought, this is pseudoscientific. I bet this guy is a white supremacist. I mean, it's the telltale droppings of white supremacy trying to cloak itself in. Tribalism is a real thing, but all the conclusions that he came about, you know, with tribalism, I just thought, oh my goodness. So I went to the source as well, because I just thought, nah, this cannot be. I would have been highly surprised if this wasn't a white supremacist writer. And sure enough, I didn't have to dig too far to find the origin of the article. And I just thought about when you think about tribalism, it's not just who looks like you. It is also who acts like you and a culture. It's the whole reason why the military and certain companies have people wear a uniform, because they don't really care about what your skin color looks like. They want you to work together as a team. And the first article, again, which I just sped read while on this Zoom call, when he's talking about the tribalism of teams, that's a wonderful example of how people will happily disregard what your skin and what you look like because you have a common goal. And it kind of reminds me, oh, that's 2 minutes.
Yeah, you want to get back on the list?
I was just gonna say, what was it? The French soccer team, they called it Team Africa. And that kind of riled people because it's like, no, when you wear that uniform, you're no longer your ethnic group, you're that team. And I just found that funny, but okay.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, so we have Phyllis, Bill, Marla, Greer, and Glenn. Anyone else want to be on the list? Okay, Phyllis.
Well, I just want to say the reason I have a Malcolm Jenkins t-shirt is because our former quarterback, who is an evangelical Christian, said some pretty ignorant things about that when Black sports people kneel, they are disrespecting the flag. And Malcolm Jenkins put out a video rebutting that, in which he actually cried. And I was so pissed at Drew Brees. I'm still pissed at him. And that's why I got a Malcolm Jenkins shirt. And I do not celebrate Drew Brees as like the hero of New Orleans. I feel that, yeah, I would like, if I do have a tribe of people, they're not people who all look like me. They are people who maybe believe or think or have the same values as me, and they don't necessarily all have white skin. In fact, they don't. And there's only a few that don't, that are in, that do have white skin that are in. I want to say there's a film that I watch every June during Pride Month. It's actually called Pride. It's from 2014. It's set in 1984's England, and it is based on a true happening where a group of gay activists in London went to Wales to support striking Welsh coal miners. So imagine a group of people from San Francisco going to West Virginia. That's kind of what this film is like. I cry every time I watch it because it is so moving that these two groups came together to support each other ultimately. And there was a process of them needing to come to acceptance with each other. And it's just a beautiful vision of overcoming tribalism. I highly recommend it, even outside of June.
Okay, thank you. I'll write that down. Pride. Your name is Pride, right? Okay. Next we have Bill.
Yeah. After you clarified the point of the article, I'm not going to try to critique it sentence by sentence, but I will say that I do agree with Greer, and Glenn. Oppressed people can benefit from tribalism as long as it's not racist. And I don't find Blacks who
Louise.
Who benefit, who advocate supporting Black businesses, etc., races at all. But there was the same sentence in here that said unilateral disarmament is suicide. Nonviolence does not work against Nazis and fascists. The anti-apartheid movement in South Africa first tried to be nonviolent. And I went to Robben Island, and the tour guide was a former prisoner. And he said he tried to be nonviolent until he watched the police murder his wife and child in front of him. So he knew he had to fight fire with fire. So I do agree with that. If an oppressed people have to pick their battles. Nonviolence worked in India, in the US, but it did not work in South Africa. It would not have worked in Germany. So anyway, also I want to say.
You want to get back on the list?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have Marla, Greer, Glenn, Louise, and then Bill. Anyone else? Okay, Marla.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly clarify that while I think diversity is a beautiful thing, I also 100% get why folks who are marginalized need spaces apart always from white people, for safety, for rest. You know, this notion that white folks need to be up in every space and that that's going to make the world a better place is absolutely not okay either. That we should always be invited to the barbecue. I think that's like one of the catchphrases on Instagram. No, we should not. Absolutely not. And I was just reminded of kind of a little anecdotal story. My daughter has a friend, and he's Hispanic. He's also gay, and he was talking to her about something. I don't even remember what it was, and he was laughing about something that white folks did, and she just kind of like rolled her eyes, and he said, "It doesn't seem like you're very proud to be white." And she was like, "I am not. No, absolutely not," but he didn't really see how he's proud to be Hispanic, how that didn't translate. She's not proud to be white. Like, he just expected her to feel proud to be white, but no. So anyway, kind of an interesting little story from the teenage side, but that's all. I get why folks need their own space. Marginalized folks, yes.
Okay, thank you, Marla. Next I have Greer.
Sort of piggybacking on what Marla just said. Yes, I think we do need our own space. But whenever we try to have our own space throughout history, we were always attacked. And one thing that I do notice is that it's okay to be tribal with us when you benefit from us, but it's not outside of that. Like, I remember during 9/11, I see all these people holding hands and hugging each other, and yeah, we gotta fight the good fight and all that. And I'm just looking at these people, Black, white, Asian, whatever, they all holding hands in New York. And I'm like, so because a bomb was dropped, now we're all Americans. Now everybody's invited to, as I think Marla said, the cookout. I just sat back and looked at the hypocrisy of it all. And you see it even more like when the blue wall steps up. If a white cop does something, oh, they come out in droves. Let a black cop do something, it's like crickets. You don't see anybody. As long as tribalism has the ability to benefit off someone who's not exactly part of the tribe with undertones, then it's great. But you could be in that tribe and let something happen. They're like, oh, well, you're really not one of us. It's a swinging door like on a saloon. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greer. Next we have Glenn.
Something I want to say. Oh yeah, about those trolls. That's Black people to a great extent is always a victim to that type of being incited to do something. Even the idea of us talking about reparations, I don't believe that came from us. I believe that came from outside of us, and we picked it up. Another thing to just something impossible, something we're not going to get, something impossible to get, because we don't want no $1,000 check. We I know we gonna at least start out $100,000 for everybody. At least start off with, and then some of us got an idea we ought to have $1 million. So it's something we're not going to get. It's something that we're not going to be satisfied with, but it is something to cause division and contention and strife among the American people. And also I look at a tribe that came here to New Orleans. Many tribes came here to New Orleans after Katrina to help us. Many church groups came here to help us. Young people went in these mold-stricken houses and cleaned up those houses. Got rid of all the mold, put tops on roofs. They stayed here for months helping us. That was a tribe. But but we always look in these articles only for the negative. But there's some good things that come through tribalism.
Thank you. Louise and then Bill.
Actually, yeah, wholeheartedly agree with you, Glenn, because I was listening to what you were saying. And I think, yeah, of course, good things can come from tribalism. But my main point I was going to make was about football, real football, not American football. Yes, there's a huge amount of tribalism in Britain, in London with football, and very diverse groups between them all. But then when it comes to the World Cup, all of these tribes ball up together as England, and they're all fighting for the same thing for England to win. So millions of little tribes make a big tribe, fight against the other tribes, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's very different with sports, to be honest. I mean, there's no, there was another point I was going to make. Oh, that we're a tribe, really, right? Erace, we're a nice little tribe. And hopefully we could get together with all of the other little tribes that are trying to right the wrongs and fight against that elite tribe who rule the world and knock them off out of their place, and hopefully, all will be well. The end.
All right, thank you. And then we have Bill.
Yeah, I want to say there's tribalism, benign tribalism, like sports. I support Drew Brees as a quarterback for the Saints. I despise his politics. When I was in New England, I supported Tom Brady as a quarterback for the Patriots, but I don't respect him as a person. He's just a good quarterback. And I think we can hopefully engage in benign tribalism, like rooting for a sports team, without engaging in oppressive tribalism, oppressing people who are not in our tribe. And I certainly do not identify with the white race and the actions of the white race, but I acknowledge that I'm a white person. I can't escape that. So, did you have a clarifying question, Louise, or you wanted to get on the speaker?
List. You want to be on the list? Okay.
No. Anyway.
All right. Thank you, Louise, Bill. Now we have Louise.
Bill, you did remind me though, Roy is adopted, and that's one, he makes a very good point of not wanting to find out where he's from, because he says he doesn't belong rather to any tribe, or he doesn't know what tribe he belongs to. So he cannot have that, mindset of, who he is. He is everybody, or, mystery person. Anywho, I just wanted to add that to what you said.
Nice point, Louise.
Right. Well, yeah, thank you. Well, it was Roy's word.
Okay. Phyllis. You can go ahead.
Sorry, I was dropping my papers. In the second article, the American Renaissance one, the second to the last paragraph, there's a sentence: we are able to learn from the experiences of others at a distance from the safety of a non-diverse enclave. I call BS on that whole idea. This is some scared white people crap. You cannot really learn about people from a distance of your safe little hole, wherever you are.
Where?
If you are of the powerful group, because powerful groups, they can still exist and do their thing without knowledge of the other. But oppressed people know a whole lot more about their oppressors than oppressors know about the oppressed. And that's because they aren't at a distance from them. They're seeing them all, you know, how they do what they do all the time. That this whole article is so obviously like trying to justify white people not having interactions with anybody but other white people who think like them. It's a pro-segregation argument, and it's kind of gross. I'm glad Facebook has them marked as something to not be shared.
Yeah,
That's it.
thank you for finding that. I'm blown away. Greer.
Get back to me. It just flew out of my head. I forgot what I wanted to say, but I'll get back on.
Well, actually, it's just about 11 o'clock. And if there is not anyone else who wants to get on the list, we can start moving towards the wrap up.
Can I be on the
Yeah.
list? Jump on real quick.
Mhm.
Okay. In the latter part of the second article where he was talking about, oh, you can learn about other cultures by eating their food, you know, going to ethnic restaurants. It reminded me years ago, before Bill O'Reilly was disgraced off of Fox News, he went to I guess it was a soul food restaurant somewhere. I don't remember where, because I really don't try to follow him at all. But what I do remember was just the overwhelmingly
Bill Greer.
racist conclusion that he drew when he went to the soul food restaurant. And I know this was for his white supremacist audience, but it's like, they were just people and they were family and they were sitting at the restaurant. And I wanted to go through the TV and say, what the F did you think people were doing in the soul food restaurant? Did you think that they were, you know, swinging from vines inside of a building and had bones through their noses and just like really, but just the overwhelmingly, wow, they were eating and it was family. And I thought, you sad bastard, you don't know Black people are families too? You don't realize that when we go to a restaurant, we sit down, we eat with a knife and fork, and then, you know, just that overwhelmingly. So I highly agree with the, oh yeah, if you go to an ethnic restaurant, you can, but just his really overselling of how Black people were actually civilized and could sit down and eat as a family in a soul food restaurant. Just, you know, that was newsworthy to an audience of people that he was, but that comment reminded me of that. Just like, wow, they're families. Okay, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Bill and then Greer.
I want to second what Phyllis said. You cannot learn about other people from afar. You get a distorted sense of that. It reminds me, we go to a concert in City Park, and it's mainly populated by, I don't want to sound prejudiced, but it seems to be populated by people from Metairie and Lakeview. And they come to hear New Orleans music from afar. But they don't go into the city to hear New Orleans music because they don't want to expose themselves to the inner city. And that could be a totally prejudiced part on my part. But you have to learn about other people close up and personal and interact with them. And that's part of what this group is about. So anyway, I said enough.
All right, thank you, Bill. And then we have Greer.
No, it came back to me. What I was thinking about was at a point in time in the United States, crime was listed based on culture, ethnicity, or point of origin, where you came from. Like you had somebody did something, they would do Polish, Hungarian, Irish, or whatever. But now, since everybody's tribally, all those people I mentioned are tribally indoctrinated under white, America perpetuates tribalism. It's like you have white and then you have everything else. So this country is definitely a pusher of tribalism. And at the same time, they want to say, oh, we're a great American melting pot. No, more like a salad with all the individual pieces in it. People come together by choice, by familiarity, by common thread. But at the end of the day, it's like when you go to work, you go home, you go to work to do your job. But at the end of the day, everybody goes to their separate houses. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greer. It is 11:03. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, I have to be out of here by 11:30. So why don't we start moving towards the wrap up? And I have 3 people that didn't speak at all, and that is Cindy, Marva, and Amal. And so if you'd like to, take the full 2 minutes to, give your final thoughts, that'd be fine. Cindy?
The whole idea of tribalism, I think part of it's automatic in that how you look defines a lot of the beginning of how people perceive you. I can never be totally recognized as someone who relates to African Americans because of the color of my skin and my hair. And I'm not going to dye my hair. There's no way around it. I worked in schools that were mostly African American for many, many years, and I got along just fine. But if there was trouble, someone would bring up my race. It's reality, I think. I think also at the same time, the tribalism relates to what we're talking about. Like if we're talking about me as an individual, that's one thing. If we're talking about me as a white person, maybe me as a teacher, we're in lots of different tribes according to what the subject is. And I think that's important. We need to be able to relate across the boundaries of race or class. I think it's sad that many people focus on the external appearances rather than understanding what people are about or what people believe that might be quite similar. Irrelevant. It still goes back to what we look like, which is sad. I don't know how to change that. So I give up. Actually, I don't. Anyway, enough said.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Next we have Marva.
Interesting discussion. Food for thought. Nancy, great article. I leave this discussion with food for thought. It's tribalism can work both ways. Good and separating us. We got to think of how it can help or hurt us. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Amal. Last of the 2-minute people.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, great article. I like many people didn't know that there were two. I actually read the one with the gentleman used the football analogy to make his point. So I didn't really get a chance to read the other. But great article. I do not believe that tribalism leads to racism. People have lived in tribes for centuries alongside of one another and got along well, respected each other's differences, whether that be language, food, religion, so on and so forth. So I don't believe that because I'm in a different tribe than you, that'll lead to me harboring tribal or racial hatred towards you. That's not. I don't believe that to be true. And people have respected people's boundaries. In other words, if this is my territory, you respect my territory when you come in it, equal as I respect yours when I come into yours. So the idea of tribalism leading to racism, I don't believe that. Now, when the gentleman used the analogy with football, I actually laughed because being a sports advocate myself, I don't think that sports is tribalism. Sports is I'm supporting my team in a competitive arena to win over your team. And that doesn't necessarily have to be tribal. That just means that I want my team to win. Now, if my team loses, that means we have to go back to the drawing board and realize how you beat us so we can come back and beat you the next time. It's just sports. It's competition. It's not about me wanting to dominate and control and rule over you as a human being. You're still free to be who you are as a human being, but I want my team to win. So that analogy that the gentleman used with sports is not one that I subscribe to, but great article.
Thank you, Amal. Okay, now we go on to the 1-minute people. 1-minute wrap-ups, and we're going to start with Phyllis.
I just want to say thanks for bringing both these articles. I think it was interesting to have two shortish articles that were like opposed to each other to see our own perspective probably in one and the opposite of our own perspective in the other one. So I'm sorry, I don't know how to make sure people see two. I'll try if we do this again to really put them at the end of the end of the email so that it's clear. Okay, thanks, Nancy. Good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Michelle.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, but yeah, I'm sorry I missed that there were two articles and I only ended up reading one. I skimmed the other one quickly, but it was hard for me to concentrate in the midst of our discussion here. But for Phyllis, I would suggest that maybe at the beginning of the information, just clearly state, like, there are two articles here. Because I mean, when they're not going to get pasted into the body of the email correctly, I mean, in the same format, people are going to miss them. So I simply would just say there's two articles, or there's an article and a video, or there's two videos, just so people might take note of that from the get-go. But yeah, thank you for facilitating. Anybody who facilitates, I just like to thank, because it's not easy, and having to come up with those articles certainly was a thought process for you, Nancy. So I appreciate your time and effort in doing that for us as a group here. And I think that's about all I have to say. Have a great week, everybody.
Okay, you too. Teresa.
Thank you once again for the stimulating discussion. Thank you, Nancy. I was going to say, just for like emailing, I don't know if you have a way to, I mean, certainly saying Article 1, Article 2, but within the body of the email itself, I think you can highlight. So if you maybe highlight one link and then highlight the next one, that may help stand out and distinguish. But yes, really good. And I just have to boast for just a second. Look at my red velvet cake. Anyway, I got to frost it and everything. So that's my Saturday edible project for the morning or for the day. But look forward to
Great.
next week. Thanks.
Great. Thanks. Marla.
Yeah, sorry. Have to use the headset because my husband has a big bonsai meeting today in our house. Thank you for both of the articles. Yes, I just need to do better reading details and emails. So thanks for the discussion. I don't have anything else to add. I mean, lots to think about, and I agree with Marva, food for thought for sure. So, thank you.
Thank you. Glenn. Glenn, you here? Okay, Glenn, we'll come back to you. Lynn. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yeah, well, I hope one day to raise a tribe in this group here. At least get 3 people and form a little tribe. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Lynn.
Oh, thank you, Nancy, for the articles. I only read the first one because I didn't notice the second one, but I like when concepts are brought down to this most basic level so you can explain them and share them with people that don't understand what tribalism is and how it can be manipulated by evildoers, such as our former president. And speaking of which, I want to say how relatively happy I am that the elections have turned out as well as they did. I was hoping for a majority in the House and a decisive majority in the Senate, but defending ourselves against the evildoers. I'm sorry, here I am tribally talking about evildoers. People who don't recognize the humanity of all tribes. They were not allowed free reign in this election, and I'm very happy.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is. MAGA is a tribe. Absolutely. Greer.
Until African Americans become tribal, I don't think anything in this country changes for us. And if you look at the history of every time the so-called revolutionary Americans who are white did something, they either betrayed the Indians, they betrayed the Asians, whoever they betrayed that wasn't white, all that was due to tribalism. And it's even more so being done since we have categories of races. Some just fared better than others. But again, until we come together, African Americans, as a people, nothing changes for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And last we have Bill.
Nancy, thanks for the article. We usually have articles that we agree with. And this is one where I disagreed, and it caused me to sharpen my views on why I disagreed with it. So that's a nice change of pace. Maybe you should add more articles from white supremacist journals, just so we can sharpen our critique of them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, thank everybody for their opinion. And it's 11:16, and I just want to tell like a quick story. I can't remember, somebody while we were speaking brought up something that made me think. It was about diversity. That's what it was. It was about diversity. And when I was in school, one of our projects that we had to do was, it said pick a company that failed and why. Why did the company fail? Okay. And so being an accountant, I picked Arthur Andersen. Okay. As a matter of fact, Arthur Andersen had been our auditors at one point, so I was kind of familiar with them. Anyway, but I picked Arthur Andersen. And the reason that Arthur Andersen failed was because of the lack of diversity. And what happened with Arthur Andersen was that it was Arthur Andersen Auditing and Arthur Andersen Consulting. Arthur Andersen Auditing, Arthur Andersen was a company based out of Chicago, and their board or their upper management was made up pretty much of old white men, okay? Their Arthur Andersen Consulting was also out of Chicago, but it was made up of much younger, tech savvy and diverse group that included minorities and women, okay? And Arthur Andersen, they broke off like into camps, tribalism, okay? And they became competitive with one another, okay? Where Arthur Andersen Consulting was outperforming Arthur Andersen Auditing, okay? They were beating them with business development, they were beating them with revenues, they were beating them with everything. So Arthur Andersen Auditing, to keep up with Arthur Andersen Consulting, began to lower their standards. Now, one of the things, if you are an auditor, your credibility is the highest standard of your profession. You have to be credible. You have to hold your clients to standard. You can't lower the standards for your clients to be able to, continue the business, all right? But that's what they did with Enron. And I don't know if any of you all remember Enron, the company where they had falsified records, falsified revenues, falsified different whatever they falsified and whatnot, and eventually brought down Enron and Arthur Andersen with them because Arthur Andersen was complicit. But the reason that happened was because of the same narrow focus of the group of people that were in upper management. And without that wide, more varied thinking of a diverse group that included minorities and women to help them broaden their thought process and whatnot, that is actually what brought down Arthur Andersen. And I think that is a very good story and an example of what the lack of diversity and tribalism does. Okay. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming. Bill has his hand up. If you have a question, I don't know if you want to
I
stop
wanna-
recording.